Hello, everybody, and welcome to the third ever episode of the Indie Allies podcast. My name is Brandon Winkler, and I am joined today by my lovely co-host, Hal. How are we doing, Hal?
I am doing good. Thank you so much for having me again.
Yeah, of course. You're the co-host. You always say that. Like, one of these days I'm just going to cut you off, but that's not going to happen. And,
It's
well,
an hon-
Well, I'm thankful to be here, no matter what.
Oh,
and today we have a lovely new guest. Their specialty is character and prop design, but they do so much more. Haley, it's good to have you here.
thank you for having me.
Absolutely. You technically aren't a co-host, but I'm happy you're here nonetheless.
Thank you. I will take over the podcast one day. Just wait.
You know what? Go ahead. It's yours. Haley, what are we going to do today?
We are going to be talking about the bummer that is all the layoffs right now in the gaming industry.
I mean, you're not wrong. That is on the itinerary. Listen, if we've
I
learned
thought that
anything,
was like, boom, are you paying attention?
listen. Haley, if anything, has proven that she is prepared. Hal and I, on the other hand,
We're
not
totally
even
unprepared.
remotely prepared. I just got off work. I grabbed a nice mug of coffee, and it's warm. It's delicious, and that's all I've done so far because I'm running a little behind. So,
I might need coffee too. Don't even blame you.
coffee. All right. So, if you wouldn't mind, Haley, to start us off, would you give us just kind of a brief introduction of who you are and what you do?
Yeah, my name's Haley. I'm kind of a newbie in game development, but I have been doing digital art for years. I went to the Art Institute of Dallas, and my specialty is character design and props and that sort of thing. So, yeah.
I'm really interested in that. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to have all kinds of interesting questions to ask you about that, especially once we get to what we've been doing this week, which is right now. Hal, what have you been doing this week?
Oh man. I feel like every week I keep saying this, but I'm still working on animations. But
Listen,
I have learned
you work
so
on
much stuff this week.
games. Listen, 2 weeks in a
Yeah.
row, or was it 3? No, this is the third episode. So 2 weeks in a row, I was doing a save load system. I'm happy that this week I've got something new to say when it comes to that. But anyway, sorry for interrupting.
Nice. Yeah, yeah, I'm still working on animations, but I've learned so much this week, which has been really cool. I mean, that's one of the things that I love about game development in general. I mean, like Haley, I'm very new to all of this as well. So I know this is still I'm kind of like on the slope up, so I love learning things, and every single day I just learn a ton of stuff. But yeah, I learned something really cool, or actually I kind of just figured this out today. because I was having this problem of I wanted to create animations, and I'm creating animations for like aiming down. You have a weapon, you're aiming down your sight, and so they're first person. And my biggest problem was trying to get like the sights lined up so they're perfectly in the center, right? I was
Mm-hmm.
like, there's got to be a better way to do this. And I was asking people, and granted, a lot of people were telling me not to do this in Unreal, but you know how stubborn I am, and I just want to keep doing everything in Unreal.
Yep.
So it finally hit me today, and it's such a simple thing. I literally just put a like a block mesh in the sequencer thing, and I just attached it to the camera, set it to 000, and then I just moved it straight out in front of the camera, and then just scaled it down to where it's basically like a crosshair, and voila, now I can know exactly where the center of the screen is.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's very clever. In fact, the first ever turnaround system I had, because I think it was you who asked me something
Yes.
along the lines of, hey, can we do a quick turn? My first iteration was to put an invisible static mesh directly behind the player, then get the look at rotation and say, well, okay, then use that look at rotation. So I think it's smart. I liked it. And I feel like that's a huge part of game dev, though, is problem solving. And you solve
Yeah.
problems in very unique ways sometimes.
I love solving problems. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm great at it, but it's just so satisfying to solve a problem and make something work.
It's really rewarding, especially whenever
Yeah.
you kind of jerry rig it to work. Like it's not the
Yes.
way it's supposed to be done, but it's the way you figured it out, so it
If it
works.
works, it works.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I don't know if you have more you want to say, but I will say that does transition well into something I did learn this week, or I've been trying this week, and that is accepting that something works.
Mhm.
I'm somebody that I thought I already did that. I thought I was like, no, I know when to give up and move on and say this is good enough. And then I really challenged myself on that. I'm like, am I really though? Or do I sit around and get caught up like, oh, I would move on, but the AI doesn't do exactly the what I want it to. So therefore, I'm just going to sit here and worry about this problem until it's such an issue that I don't even work on it anymore. And, and I
Yeah.
come to find out I'm very much like that, which is not good. So this week, I have been going hard on just saying, good enough next, good enough next, good enough next. And I know that eventually that's going to lead to going back and saying, okay, you know what? This did deserve a little bit more attention. Um, but it's I feel good about it because I'm seeing progress. In a week,
Yeah.
I've been able to develop all kinds of stuff, and I'll get to that more in a minute. But Hal, was there anything else you did this week?
Yeah, I've been doing a tiny bit. So I've been completely obsessed with this game, The Exit 8.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Oh
um,
yeah,
do you guys know about this game?
I
Have
do.
either one of you played it?
I
I
haven't
haven't.
played it, but I've watched Let's Plays of it.
Yep,
Okay,
same.
yeah. Yeah, I played it through a couple of weeks ago, I think, on stream, and I I almost just hate like how simple and creative it is. Because it's such a good idea, and it's so simple, but I just love it
Yeah.
so much. And if you don't, I guess for anybody that doesn't know what the game is, it's a very simple, I guess like loop type game, or it's like um a hidden item game that you try to find things. So
Mm.
you're stuck in kind of like an underground Japanese subway tunnel, and your goal is just to figure out how to get out. And there's really just like one hallway, and then there's like a corridor area, and you walk down this hallway, and if you spot something that is weird, or an anomaly as they call it, you turn around and you go the opposite way. If you don't spot anything, you just walk right through. And so you start at exit 0, and you go through, you do the thing. If you see anything, turn around, and then you go to exit 1, and so on until you get to the exit 8. um and yeah, it's just so well done, especially like the anomalies are so well done that there's a really good variety of them. Like there's a lot that are really 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 subtle, some of them
Yeah.
maybe a little too subtle. But then there's also ones that are just like you walk around the corner and you just immediately spot it, and it does something that is so freaking good that I love. That it's like, it's kind of playing on like this liminal spaces type thing, um, which I've never really gotten into until lately. I've been looking or like researching a lot more into that stuff, but it's this environment that's very clean and very kind of stale, and it's so effective when you walk around the corner and you spot something that is off. It really gives you just such a great, like, kind of creepy factor in some ways. And so it's brilliant. I love it. It's like $4 on Steam. So if you haven't played it, I highly recommend it. It's really, really short too. You can literally finish it in like 15 minutes. Although I spent like 2 hours on it going through multiple times and like trying to
Finding
find all the
all the
anomalies and everything. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
that's something more games need to do, by the way, because I won't rant about this too long, but just showing the player that there's something available left that they can
mhm.
do usually motivates people to go, okay, well, I guess I'll do it. A really quick example of that is in World of Warcraft. Obviously, that game's been out for 20 years now, and there was an add-on that came out, which an add-on in WoW is just something that like can display information for you or show you a little thing here or there. It was called All the Things. And what it did was it just said, hey, here's all the stuff that your account has yet to achieve. And the amount
Oh my
of
goodness.
people that took that and then just went crazy with it
Ran.
is yeah, it's insane. So I think more games need to do that. Also, I just want to give a quick shout out to Discord. I know the podcast listeners can't see it, but your cameras decided to change position. So Haley is now Hal, and Hal is now Haley. So that is what that is. Anyway.
Surprise.
You know what's funny? Whenever I play games, and I play as a female character, I always name them Haley because, like, you know, HAL, and then I just add the EY on there.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. But yeah, anyway, that's what I have been doing. Oh, so yeah, I played Exit today, obsessed with that. So I really wanted to try and recreate it because it's such a simple thing. I was like, I think I can do this. And guess what? I can't do it. Not yet.
It's harder than it looks.
Yeah. Like I understand how it works. I just haven't really totally figured out how to implement it yet.
Yeah.
I'm curious what your biggest challenge has been so far, because as someone who spends all their time programming, I'm really interested if it's the problem I imagine it is.
What my problem with like recreating Exit 8?
Yeah,
is?
like what's been the biggest challenge? Like why are you saying like no, I can't do it? Like what's that thing?
Well, so specifically, so I didn't know for sure when I first played it how it worked. I didn't know if it was teleporting the player or if it was literally creating like um like a, you know, another hallway, just continuously creating another hallway. I assumed that it was creating another hallway and it wasn't teleporting the player because it is like perfectly seamless. I couldn't spot, you know, any kind of teleportation happening or anything. So obviously teleporting the player is super easy to do. And I tested that and like I could do that without any trouble. But sure enough, like, you know, even if you line everything up perfectly, you just can't really do that
Yeah.
without it being noticeable. Yeah. I did have an idea to just make like a door that you would walk through, and then that would make it much easier to teleport. But I think that's one of the things that is so effective about the game is it literally just feels like you walk around the corner, there's no transition, and you're in the same hallway. So my next thought, which was correct, which it's just like, you know, a section of the map, and then that section is just getting duplicated and added on to either the front or the back, or the back or the front. There's really no front and back to this. But that's where I started to get a little confused on how to do things because I figured it was probably like a level instance of some kind, but I couldn't really work out how to get the level to spawn, um, and then like how to transform it. And the test that I did, it wasn't really working right, and so that's kind of where I'm at right now. Like, I feel like I know how it should work, but it just doesn't work.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, I'd have to look more into that to know if it's exactly the way I was thinking about it. I think one of the hardest issues I have noticed that people have with programming, and maybe when I explain it this way, you'll agree, is it's almost how do I store information? And that information could be anything. Like, for example, how do I store this level instance and get it to move around? How do I store these variables and get access to them when I need them? And I'm curious, has it seemed like something like that, or is it more just like working with level instances and it's just not working how you want it?
Yeah, well, the thing is, I didn't even get that far because, like, I know that I will need to store things in the level,
Hmm.
but I also kind of just assumed that maybe I could just. So for the anomalies, I just, you know, kind of figured that like I could create an anomaly blueprint and then have it be kind of a base for things that can be positioned in the level, and then I can just hide them, you know, like on a random float or something, whether this is shown or not. Um, but yeah, I feel like it's just a problem of me maybe mixing up like world transform and relative transform or something like that. Um, and there, there's like 15 different ways to move something in an Unreal Engine. So
Yeah.
there's I never know which one is correct. Like I just pick a random one, whichever day I'm on,
So
and just hope that it works.
yeah, you're hardcore still on that trial and error section where you're like,
Yeah.
what exactly is the engine wanting from me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, so that's just been kind of like a fun little side project thing. Um, Planning wise, I've been trying to plan out. I try to do, I try to break my working type things down into like weekly tasks. I mean, sort of daily tasks, but I usually try to do weekly tasks because, as I'm sure you guys are like this, that like one thing that you may think will take an afternoon can end up taking 3 days, or sometimes it can end up taking 10 minutes, So
Yeah.
I try to be pretty flexible on my tasks and break them up into like weekly and monthly tasks. So we're at the end of the month. So I am just starting to think about like what I want to work on next month and what my goals, what I want for my goals to be next month and all that fun stuff.
Okay, cool. Yeah, no, I think that's awesome. I know I asked you a favor. I was like, "Hey, out of curiosity, can I use your amazing visual skills?" And you were like, "I'm swamped." And I was like, "You know what? I need to
Yeah.
work on my visual skills." So, I'm kind of glad you're swamped. I
Yeah,
don't need
it's
an
not that I
excuse.
don't want to help. It's just that I
Al
am like,
simply doesn't want to.
yeah, I hate it because like there's a couple of other people in the Discord that I've been talking to, and like they have projects, and I'm like, I would love to help with this, but I just can't do all these things,
Yep.
and I hate it because I want to do so much.
I would love to do like a collaborative project on our
Yeah,
in the Discord, but I have to finish my game first. You know what
I
I mean?
know. Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah.
So
And you know what? Perfect transition. Haley, what have you been doing this week?
this week, I've actually been trying to finalize the UI and the look of it. That is one of my weaknesses, so I've been trying to like really like dive into it and figure out how I want it to look. So
Haley,
yeah,
can you give us just like a brief overview of what your game is?
yeah. So it's called Pantheon Party, and it is a visual novel style game where you basically have to date the gods. You have a house party and you invite them all over, and it's very silly, very stupid, but like it's fun. So you have gods from all over the world. You have Shango from African culture. You have
Oh, cool.
Aphrodite. You have Dionysus, Inari from Japanese origins. So yeah, you
Oh,
kind of
that's
get
awesome.
a thing.
I love that it's not just like Greek gods, because
Yeah.
that's kind of
You like you
cliche.
never see like mythology mix. So I
Hmm.
thought it would be fun to play along, like play around with that.
Yeah.
Is
Do you
this on Steam yet, by the way? As in like wish list level or not
No,
yet?
not yet.
Okay.
what's your favorite god?
Honestly, I really like Anubis. He's kind of like the emo bad boy. He's just very like sullen, the quiet type, but he's also incredibly lame and a dad, you know?
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
just trying to raise his daughter, but he's hot. So, you know.
That's so funny. All right, no, that's really cool. Now, when you say like finishing up the UI and the visual and stuff, are you doing all that art?
Yeah, I'm pretty much doing everything, which is crazy, but it really is like helping me learn every little aspect of how games come together. But yeah, I've done all the characters, all the backdrops, the items, and all of that.
Wow. Yeah, so you've got a pretty diverse skill set. Does that mean that your weakness is coding? You got to give me something here.
Um, yeah, it definitely.
Yes.
I am brand new with coding, but I'm like teaching myself slowly over like 2 years putting this together. But it's been fun. It started off kind of as like a silly kind of idea between like me and my friends, and then slowly I just kept working on it, and now it's almost done. And I kind of know coding just a little bit.
Yeah.
So it's
Is
funny
this
how that works.
is this Unreal Blueprint, or are you actually doing like C# and Unity?
Neither. It's a program called RenPy,
Wait,
but it's what Doki Doki Literature Club was made off.
I think I have seen that before. I think I might have
Yeah.
used it. Hold on, let me.
It's fantastic to learn just like basics of coding to help you transition to other things like Unity, and I think
Yeah. Okay, so funny story about this actually. The reason I know this program is because when I was still in college and I didn't know much about game dev yet, I was very much a beginner. Um, we had this crazy idea on stream to do like this essentially an inside joke, which is why it went nowhere, because game dev takes a lot more steam than just an inside
Yeah.
joke. But
somehow mine actually kept going after that, but mine was absolutely an inside joke.
that's awesome to hear.
Yeah.
I actually downloaded this and I used Photoshop and took all of my friends' Facebook pictures at the time, and I made a dating sim where you just dated like our friend group, but it was all of our heads on like the opposite gender's body.
Oh wow.
Naturally.
It was pretty crazy. But yeah, okay, no, that's awesome. Also, sorry, I'm not celebrating your downfalls. I'm just, as someone that's like really good at programming, and really bad at art, when someone's good at both, I'm always super jealous. So whenever you were like, I'm not super great at coding, I'm like, oh, thank God, someone else that's not a prophet.
Yeah, I can do art, but coding is not my strong suit.
Which is good. I think most people end up in either the art bucket or the programming bucket. My professor used to have a name for people that could do both, and he called them unicorns. And he said, if you think you are one, you're not. So, yeah. Is that...
I have a question.
sorry.
What made you want to get into game development, Haley?
Honestly, I love video games, and growing up, I always just wanted to be the person that was on the art team.
Mhm.
One of the games that started that was Wind Waker, Legend of Zelda.
Nice.
And I was like, oh my God, I want to be the person that makes all of that, you know? And so I went to school for game design strictly for concept art. I wasn't really interested in the coding aspect of it.
Mhm.
But I found the industry actually very difficult to get into if you don't have experience.
Shocking.
I know, shocking news. But I was like, you know what? I'll just make my own game, and then I'll be able to do what I want to do. So
Heck yeah.
yeah, I'm learning. I'm not like making masterpieces, but I think it's fun to learn, and it teaches me a lot of skills to hopefully collaborate with other people.
Yeah, well, man, that's awesome.
That's the skill I'm trying to learn right now. Don't focus on the masterpiece. Which, by the way, I guess I'll talk about it now. If you're done for now, I'll switch over to what I've done this week.
Yeah.
Yeah, so first off, I haven't been doing save load, and I'm so happy about that, because doing that for as long as I was doing it, I was losing my mind. It's not done yet. I'm just not doing it. But no, I have started working on an old school shooter, or some people call them boomer shooters. The ones that are like Duke Nukem 3D, Redneck Rampage, Quake, all those. What inspired me is a game called Dusk. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Dusk. And I seen that they had made it, and I'm like, I can do this. One, I love these, and two, I know I could do this, and it sounds fun. And I just started going for it. I've made hit scan guns. I've made projectile guns. And what's crazy to me is because of everything I've learned up to this point, they're all made with structs, which means I can very quickly just add guns and change their stats on the fly and just keep moving.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm very excited with its progress. Today I started block. Well, I drew it. Do I have it? Oh, hold on. I got to grab this. Out of my laptop bag here. I went in. Is this the right? I'm
excited to see this amazing concept art.
Yes. I can't wait.
I am.
Wait, is that a napkin?
No. This is like actually pretty
Is there
thick.
ketchup on that?
Well, there might be ketchup, but it's not a napkin.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at this beautiful. Hold on. Is it gonna?
Oh,
Come on, camera. I'm gonna get real close and then back up and see if it'll. Darn, it won't.
Nope.
I saw the essence of it. I saw stairs.
You know what? I know what it is. Watch this. I could fix it.
It's
It'll
the
do-
NVIDIA
It
blurriness.
is. It is. We're gonna go to the camera and we're going to remove the
What do
blur.
you see?
All right.
There we go.
Oh,
Now
there we go.
I know for a lot of you this is a podcast and not visual, so you can't see what I'm doing right now. What
For
I'm
all you know,
doing,
it's a masterpiece.
yeah, what I'm doing is I'm holding up a piece of paper to my webcam, and on that piece of paper, I have just took a pencil and I started drawing a level, and I wanted my level to be have purpose before it looks good because I'm not good at visual stuff. So I was like, the best way I'm going to tackle this is what does my level need in it that serves function and where is it placed? And then once I have all that blocked out, I feel like I have a much better chance of actually making it look good by going back and adding static meshes and things in places where I put them.
Yeah.
Which is completely opposite as to how Hal does it. Because Hal is just like, by the way, I made this whole ass mansion right here, and I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but here's a giant mansion. I'm just like, how? How do you do it?
So I just want to show you. I do this too, but I make I don't know how well you can see this either. I like draw my my mansion map, and I have been taking all kinds of notes. I mean, it's very, very messy because I'm literally writing like, this is the exit. This is where key number 15 is going to be found, and all of that stuff. So, yeah, that is really fun to do, and I definitely like that. And I think it's a really good idea to try and plan out as much of that as you can.
I've been a lot of Doom Eternal lately, and
Oh,
the level design is crazy. Like it is
yeah,
so fascinating how they put it all together.
yeah.
Like one
It's
day.
so good. So, did you play the previous one, Doom
Yes.
2016? So, do you like this one better than Doom 2016?
I think I do actually. I was really nervous
Interesting.
because
Okay.
I've heard the difficulty curve was a
Yeah.
lot bigger, but I really love the way that you can use power-ups and you feel like
Yeah.
a god. You know what I mean? Like you just get
Yeah.
through this insane section that has you sweating and you're just like, I did it. Oh my god.
Yeah,
But
the music is so good in Doom as well.
Yes.
But yeah, that's interesting. I'm so torn between those games because I loved Doom 2016. But then when I got to Doom Eternal, I was kind of disappointed with it because one of the things I liked about Doom so much was like you could kind of pick your favorite weapon and just stick with it. But in Eternal, like they really kind of make you swap throughout all the weapons. Like you have to use all the different weapons in there.
Like it's definitely more like video gamey than Doom 2016, which is an incredibly video game.
Yeah.
Listen, as a boomer shooter expert, okay, and that's what Doom is trying to be. How you have to use all your guns because you're gonna run out of ammo if you keep sticking to the one that you're using. Plus, certain enemies have to be weak to certain guns and strong against other guns. So how you gotta get good. That's all I'm hearing.
The shotgun is so good, and that's all I want to use.
I just like my shotgun. Jeez.
Yeah, but no, so I started doing all my blockout stuff. I've got an AI. I've been working with the nav mesh, which, by the way, is super inconsistent and driving me insane. I'm sure it's consistent, like, if you're, like, real technical and you know it inside and out. But whenever I place two doors that are the same static mesh, and the AI says, I can go through this one, but that one's too small, to me, that feels ridiculously inconsistent. It's been driving me insane.
It feels personal.
Yeah, it's exactly. You know what? It's personal. But what was I gonna say? Oh, what I did to cheat that, by the way, I said this in the Discord earlier, is I basically just told the nav mesh, no. All the guys that have to walk on it are only like 2 pixels wide. Don't worry about it. They're all really small.
Gaslighting the AI.
Literally, yeah, and it's working fine. So, like, that's just kind of what I went with. Also, if you're live or if you're here with us on the stream, which is Twitch TV twitch.tv/DarkslayerTV for those listening. We just had another raid. Thank you, Primal, for the raid. I hope everyone here enjoys listening to our conversation today. We're currently going over all the stuff we did this week. I'm talking about the boomer shooter that I'm creating. But I actually, one last thing I want to talk about here before we move on from my my little recap for the week is there were two things that Rick Rubin said in a podcast recently. And I have to bring them up here because I think they're so important. And I don't have a good transition to this, by the way, so you just have to accept that it's kind of random that I'm going to this. But the first one really helped me because I was, like I said, I was working on that save load system, and I was working on that thing package that I'm going to sell on the Epic Store and all that. But the boomer shooter kind of took over what I was doing, and I had a lot of guilt. I had a lot of, what are you doing? You have something you're working on. Why are you switching? And I was really at war internally, and I didn't feel very good. But if you don't know who Rick Rubin is, he is a very, very, very successful artist. Not only artist, but he has worked with so many famous people, including I know Johnny Cash is one of them. He works with all these people to help them get their artistic flow going. Very well known. And, he was saying in his podcast, which helped me a lot today, was he comes at life from a very spiritual way. And I have to admit, I don't, but I still really enjoyed this. He basically said, when the universe puts up resistance, I just don't fight it. And if there's another project that's moving smoothly, I just go with the one that's moving smoothly. And there was something about someone so successful saying that just made me feel so much better about not abandoning, because it's never abandoned, but stopping for a little bit, taking a break from that package I was developing and just doing the thing that's working right now. And it just made me feel so much better.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I think it's a good reminder to just take a breather, and then when you come back to the project, you're a little bit stronger, a little bit better at, focusing.
Yeah, and I really think personal work is so good and so important. In my photography career, I always would try to push myself to do personal work. So once a month I would try to organize a photo shoot that was just for me and do something that was just for me. It would a lot of times end up in a portfolio piece, but it wasn't a paid job, is what I'm saying. And I think that's just very important in any kind of creative position, to constantly be trying to do stuff just for you and to, take a little time away from your main gig that you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think that is a good transition, actually, to the other quote that I wanted to bring up. Now, I don't know if this is verbatim or not, but he said something along the lines of, you know what? The context was someone asked, how do you know if a project is worth it? How do you know if you should continue or if you should just not continue doing this and move on? And his response was really good. He said, depending on if something, how do you know if it's worth it, means that you're expecting a result and you're not creating something for the sake of creating. You're not making something because you want to make it. So it's a really silly thing to focus on. It's not, you shouldn't be worried about the success. You shouldn't be worried about people's take on it. You should be making it for you. And if you want to be making it, make it. But to sit around and focus on something you have no control over is really silly. And again, I think it was another good message I needed to hear, because I've been really worried about messing up this boomer shooter in a way that's well, this isn't exactly what I remember. This is some weird thing, your take on it. And I'm like, wait a minute. Yeah, it is my take on it. So
That's great advice, honestly.
yeah. But all right. Moving on, we're going to move on to something really exciting. We're going to move on to something that is just super uplifting. The amount of layoffs this year has been massive. Earlier, you said getting into the gaming industry was hard. Well, apparently, staying in it might be even harder. We're seeing 5% layoffs from EA, 20% from Deck 9, and even more from PlayStation. And I kind of wanted to know your guys' take on this. We got 3 different articles here. They're all from GameDeveloper.com. And yeah, let's start with you, Haley. Like, I'm just curious. Like, obviously, I know
She's the
this
only
could
one that's
be.
actually read them, so
Skimmed. Yeah.
Yeah, listen, while you guys were talking, I was spending time somewhat reading these, I promise. But no, obviously it's easy to just be like, yeah, it sucks, and then move on. But do you have any other take on it, Haley?
Honestly, I did study a little bit. I looked at Reddit. But I just looked into it, wanted to see some people's
nice.
opinions on the whole thing. And a lot of the consensus was that during COVID, there was a lot of demand for tech from the general public, like tech services, video games. Obviously, people were buying them like crazy. They had nothing else to do. So to keep up with the demand, they hired a bunch of people. And then as the years, went on and COVID kind of is still a thing, but has dwindled. We're not quarantining anymore. They just can't keep up with the demand, and it's really wrecked, I think, the industry for people trying to like get in and stay in. So that seemed to be a lot of people's opinion about it.
That's interesting. I haven't actually thought about it from that angle. I can only go by what it is these companies are saying. And what sucks is the bigger the company, the more you just get buzzwords and you have absolutely no idea why they're doing what they're doing. And of course, any cynical person, so like me, it's immediately like, oh, your $1 billion bank account wasn't becoming more of a $1 billion bank account fast enough for you.
And probably part of that too.
Yeah, and again, this is where the pessimist side of me comes out. Whereas, Hal might have a small differing opinion, or at least a different angle than I do on this. But, like, for example, I know in that article it said that EA said that it's like a changing development, like, or a changing market or something like that, and that's why they have to lay people off. While simultaneously, scrolling down here, where is it? Let's see. They have goals like entertaining massive online communities and telling blockbuster stories. So you're getting these crazy mixed messages, which is no surprise from EA, because everything is nothing but a giant filter of corporation.
Yeah. And, I wonder the correlation between how much AI is improving and how much companies are starting to use AI has to do with that.
Thank you, Haley, because that's something I wanted to bring up. I was going to see if Hal had an opinion first, but I was actually going to ask you guys that as well, is do you think this is the start of the AI, or do you think it's just potentially unrelated?
Okay. I have a lot to say on this. So yeah, this is something that I have kept up with. I haven't read the articles, but I do keep up with this, and I actually read a lot about this. And I'm kind of like, I'm kind of ridiculous. I listen to like 4 or 5 gaming podcasts every week, and they're constantly talking about this. So yeah, Haley, you're definitely spot on with. And first of all, I want to say, like, this is not just in the gaming industry. This is really technology industry wide, and even expanding outside of that industry a bit. But definitely, the tech industry and the gaming industry are getting hit really hard, and that's exactly what happened. Like, money was very inexpensive to borrow during the pandemic because interest rates were very low, and so when money's cheap, then companies expand. They hire a bunch of people. Gaming was also way up during the pandemic because, of course, we were all home playing video games and getting paid to do it. So, of course, they're going to be making more money. So these companies, they see like, oh, we're making all this extra money, so now we can hire all these extra people. And for whatever reason, this is what nobody really understands. For whatever reason, they just thought that that was going to continue, like that exponential growth was going to continue. And clearly it wasn't. Like even if interest rates had remained low, that just would not have happened because we don't have the number of people that are staying home playing video games. So people playing video games has gone down, and so that's been tough. Tough numbers to comp year over year for the big companies. So that's obviously one big factor. And then, of course, interest rates have gone up kind of worldwide due to inflation, which is good for inflation, but bad for businesses. So, all these businesses that were able to have a super cheap loans and things like that, well, they're now paying a lot more interest, which means that they don't have as much cash in the books. So they have to let people go. There's a lot to say that, like, did they really have to let people go, or could they have shifted some other money around? I think so. I'm going to put my optimism hat on here. So I really think that it's just a really sucky thing all around, and there's really no great solution for this. And I think that, like, first of all, I just want to say, like, if there is anybody that is listening, or if you know anybody, which you probably do, that has been affected by these layoffs, like, I'm really, really sorry, because it really sucks. And I really am sorry that if you were affected by these. And I know, it was probably really hard for a lot of people to even get that job that they wanted in the industry, and then to just be laid off. And the way they do these layoffs are just awful. Like, they're almost always just completely out of nowhere. That is absolutely terrible how that's handled. Fortunately, some companies have been much better with compensation than others, but there's definitely been, some companies that have not given great compensation. But I think it's just a really unfortunate situation that I don't really think could really be solved any other way. You could say like, oh, well, if the CEO had taken a pay cut, they could have kept these jobs longer. And that's true, but that can only go on for so long. And the fact is, like, there's just not enough demand for the number of people that they hired. They overhired, and unfortunately, workers are just paying the price for that. And it sucks. Like, it really does suck. But again, if I can kind of be the optimist here, I really, really, really believe that this is a pivotal moment in the games industry. And I think it's really important to think about, like, the gaming industry is still relatively young, when you compare it to other industries, like movies or something like that. Movie industry has been around for over 100 years now. And the games industry is still very young. And so it's still figuring things out a lot of times. And I really don't think that we have ever been in a place like this in the games industry. And so that is obviously scary in a lot of ways. And there's a lot of people that don't really know what's going on and what the future is going to be. But I think that there are so many people that have been laid off. I hope that a lot of these people, kind of like what you were saying, Haley, is I hope that a lot of these people realize, like, it's actually not that crazy hard to, make a game yourself. I mean, that's easier said than done. But, like, relatively speaking, you can do a lot of stuff on your own, completely solo, that you never would have been able to do 20 years ago. And you can definitely do a lot of things with finding a small team of maybe, 5 to 10 people that get together and want to make a game. The tools and the resources that we have nowadays are just absolutely incredible. And so I really want to encourage people to, maybe take a little bit more of a risk, go out there and do something on your own, or find people to collaborate with, aka indieallies.com.
I
Yeah,
suppose.
especially if you're an animator. That's indieallies.com. Any animators, everyone else too, but animators,
Specifically
indieallies.com.
animators.
Hey, I'm just saying, you snooze, you lose, because I'm getting pretty darn good at animation now.
Oh, I mean, hey, I'm working on that visual side. I'll get there.
But yeah, so I really do want to, so I know not everyone, obviously not everyone that gets laid off can just like afford to take off for a year and make their own game. Obviously you have to have money and you have to have a job, but I think there's a lot of people that I hope anyway that they can use this layoff to maybe not go and work for another giant corporation again that might just lay them off again in the future. Instead, maybe try to find like a smaller team to work with. Um, you know, it is definitely much more of a risk. You might join a team, and even if it is a paid job, they might not have the resources like a big AAA studio that has, and so it might be a higher risk that you release a game and it doesn't do well enough financially. But you know what? It's also a giant risk if you join a big AAA corporation and you make something like Immortals of Avium. Have either of you played or know of Immortals of Avium?
Yes, I have heard about this.
Okay.
I'm a
Have you
little
heard of it? Have you heard of it, Haley?
Sorry. I'm having a coughing fit like
Oh no.
mid podcast.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
Excuse
Thank
me.
you.
I am out of the loop on that game.
Yeah, so Immortals of Avium is a game that EA made, speaking of EA. And they spent $125 million on this game, and it was just a total failure. Which is really sad because the game actually is really good. Um, or really good is maybe a bit too far. It's a good game, but like spending $125 million on a game of any kind is just mind blowing to me.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I don't know. That could be a whole nother discussion. But anyway, just to wrap this up, I'm very, very sorry for anyone that was affected by these layoffs. And I hope that you will all be able to find work soon. And I also 1000% mean this. Um, I also hope that some of you will be able to take a risk and just go out there and start your own thing, because I really think that there are going to be I think there's already kind of like a rise in indie developers in general, but I think that this is just going to spawn so many more new IPs and new studios. And of course, there's going to be people that fail, there's going to be people that succeed. But yeah, get out there and just take the risk and have fun.
Yeah, I from the optimism side, I 100% am on board with what you said. I think that's very, very true. Obviously, I do want to point this out because this is something that's been going on for a long time, and I think that these 2024 layoffs are probably being blanketed because of the COVID stuff, and there's probably some truth to it. But something that goes on a lot in this industry is they used to do this in the car industry as well, and I think what ended up fixing it was the name escapes me. What is it called whenever workers get together and like union? That's what it is. Yes.
Mhm.
I think it was unionization that actually stopped this. The car industry, what would happen is you would get a job, you would work there for X amount of years. Every year, you get a raise. Well, after a while, you would make a certain amount of money to do a task that a new employee can do for significantly less money. And they would just lay off all the veterans except for very specific people to like keep the training going. And they would just do this repeatedly. All right, you're making too much money, chop your head off, next guy. Oh, you're making too much money, chop your head off, next guy. And this is actually going on in the gaming industry as well. They keep very specific people around. Like, I mean, you've heard all the big names in the gaming industry. Of course, they all escape me right now because I
Yeah.
haven't had enough caffeine. But yes,
Oh
there
yeah,
are.
name one game dude. Name one.
Todd Howard.
There we go,
Oh,
Todd Howard. Perfect. They keep Todd Howard around. Of course they do. But yeah, this is a cycle that's been going on forever and ever. And I wouldn't be surprised if this has also given them an excuse to, again, be like, oh, just too many hires during COVID. We got to get rid of Sean. I mean, he's making too much money on 3D models right now. So sorry, Sean, it was the COVID thing. And the only reason, by the way, I'm taking this stance is, one, I think it's good to inform people, even if it is bad. But two, I also like to play a little bit of the devil's advocate here, because if we all just go, man, that sucks, it's not a very good podcast. So don't crucify me. I just, it is what it is. I like to come at it from as many angles as possible. But
yeah, I want to say I know this might not be the popular thing, but I don't really know if unions are the answer to this.
I only brought that up because I think that's what stopped it in the car industry. Now, does that mean that's going to work in this industry? Maybe not. I just brought it up because I think that's just the fun fact about it.
Well, I think no, I think it's a good discussion, and I know that there's a lot of people in the industry that are saying like, "Oh, we should, unionize," and I am generally not a huge fan of unions. I mean, I feel like a lot of times they're kind of a band-aid for like a bigger problem. Um, I again, like, my hope is that people will just not go back to work for these AAA studios.
Yeah.
And if that happens, then that will force these AAA studios to adapt and do things differently and be like, oh, there's a lot more competition from these indie games now, so we're gonna have to change up the way that we do things. And we can't be spending $125 million on a game.
Yeah.
Well, hold on,
And
Hal. Hold
so,
on. I got to stop you right there. Because all I'm hearing now is, oh, you don't want to work for us? You want... Well, that's why we had to use AI, guys. I'm sorry. We just couldn't get the workers. We just had to get the
headline
AI.
now.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, no one wants to work anymore.
Yeah,
so
freaking millennials.
yeah, that's a good point. Actually, I can see that happening. Although I think that that's probably going to happen just because they're going to be like, oh wait, we can have an AI that we pay $40 a month do this instead of paying someone a $50,000 salary. Well, let's just do that.
Amount of work for $40.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. So that's a whole other discussion that we could have that we will probably continue to have about AI. Yeah, I wish that I would have thought about this. I saw a really interesting graphic on I think Upwork put this out. You guys know Upwork?
Yeah.
I don't know if I do. Upwork?
It's an app or a service that artists and like just random people can just like post a job or like a specialty that they do, and then other people can go and say like, oh, I need
it's more professional Fiverr.
Yeah, yes. I was just say it's like Fiverr and LinkedIn or Indeed kind of smashed together.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go. So yeah, I saw a graphic that Upwork put out, and they said they had like a graph that was since ChatGPT launched, or since like AI has kind of exploded in the past year and a half, and they showed like a graph of people that were getting more work versus people that were getting less work on Upwork specifically. And I really wish I could find it because I don't have much to say other than I just remember I was surprised because there was like one category that hadn't got a lot of work, but then there were other categories that like were getting more work, which was interesting.
Well,
let me see if I can find it.
Okay, while you find it, let me explain why I think that is. We all three of us know we're all making games. We understand how many specializations go into creating a full product. And because AI is making certain specializations slightly more accessible, I could absolutely see the start of this actually creating more work, because what's happening is you have access
Yeah.
to tools where you're cutting costs in certain areas, but also now you're covering your weaknesses a little bit, but you want this to be really good, so you still pay someone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like maybe
So
AI builds some of the like skeleton of it, and then you have an actual artist or an actual programmer come and refine it.
Yep.
yeah. So I found the graph, and I do think this is really interesting. So this is change in number of Upwork jobs since ChatGPT was released. Um, so I'll let you guys guess, because this will be interesting. I'll say, do you think this has gone up or down with AI? So
Okay.
graphic design.
Up.
Right?
You guys are saying that it's gone. There's been more jobs or less jobs.
Listen,
Oh,
I'm a
less maybe
listen,
actually.
listen, I'm a competitive a-hole, so yeah, I said up because I'm like, oh, you're trying to be all like secretive. I bet
You're
it's the
trying to-
opposite, and I'm competitive, so I say up.
And I'm not even gonna lie. You said up, and I was like up.
So
Sure.
okay, so graphic design jobs have gone up. There's been more graphic design jobs since ChatGPT. Web design.
Again, I'm gonna go up, and this is because of the
Actually,
same theory. Sorry, go ahead, Haley. I accidentally talked over you.
I was just saying up. Go for it.
Oh, I'm going to say up, and it's still my same theory. I think it has to do with, oh, we can approach this now because of AI. And then they're like, well, I still want to hire someone for this thing. So I'm going to say up.
You were both correct. It is up. Web development.
Wait, didn't you just say web development, or am I crazy?
No, web design was the other one.
Oh, I also was like, wait a
I'm going to
minute.
say down on that one.
I'm gonna say up just to be like a contrarian.
It was up. Writing.
Writing.
Ooh.
Oh, down.
I'm going to go with up because of my theory. I think people want to check the AI's work. They want to say, listen, is this good? Here's the work.
So writing was the one that was down the most.
That makes I think that's where AI is the best right now. Is
Yeah.
it has so
Yeah.
many sources to pull from.
Writing is about 30. They don't have the exact numbers on here, but this looks like it's about like 35% down.
That's
Dang.
crazy.
Yeah.
You know what this is making me want to do? Add a game segment to our podcast where we ask trivia questions and we keep score.
Yeah. What's
Okay,
the prize? We win.
I'm not going to go through all these because there's quite a few, but I'll go through some of the bigger ones. Okay, what do you guys think about video editing production?
Up. Because there's no way AI is helping with that at a significant level yet. It's got to be up.
I actually say down just because I've seen some insane programs, and I'm not saying like that's mainstream yet, but it's crazy that it can cut videos down in seconds.
Yeah. Yeah. So this was actually very interesting to me. This one is the one that is up the most. This is up almost 40%.
I don't know if I expected the size of the increase, but it makes sense to me because
that's the size of it shocking.
I think this is probably what's happening. There's a lot of people that are probably doing like social media marketing and that kind of stuff that are doing it quicker and faster with AI, but they either don't trust the tools with AI yet, or they just don't know about the tools and they're maybe not great still for like specific video editing. So there's probably like a lot more content that is being created with AI, and then they need like editing by humans still.
Well,
That's my theory anyway.
Yeah, I think it's going to be like this for a while. I think even when AI does these things, it's going to be something I believe we talked about on the first episode, which is yes, an AI is going to make it, but that professional is still going to be at the end going, did it do it correctly? Like, or how, taking a look at it, quality check and all that.
Yeah.
And I wonder if now that AI is so prevalent, it's actually inspired people to create more. So you have more people making videos, more people
Yeah.
like creating
Yep.
content, and they obviously need an editor for it.
Yep.
Yes, Haley, I think you're right, and I'm glad that you said that because I I always feel like I'm going to be attacked because I feel like I'm taking the side of AI a lot of times. But I
It's a good thing,
swear,
people, you know.
I, I swear, I feel more creative and like I'm able to do more stuff because of AI. Like I don't know if that's good or bad,
I
but
I don't know if I agree completely. Not I'm not saying anything about you, but for me personally, I don't know if I agree completely. But I will say, my wife, last week's guest, Nat, is significantly more creative because she's able to just punch in all of these prompts, get a ton of different ideas, and then start combining those
yeah,
ideas, start
yeah.
expanding those ideas. Sometimes they're one for one, but very rarely. So I've seen it with my own eyes. So even though I don't relate personally, you're 100% correct that a lot of people are.
Yeah, it's such for me. It's just such a great like idea generator.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And I
Like,
have such a hard
iterative.
time. Yeah, I have such a hard time coming up with like a stupid Twitter message, or tweet to for advertising stuff. Like I try to I even though I'm still doing terrible with this, but I want to get better at like constantly posting on Twitter and Instagram and all of that stuff. And I even like my own personal Instagram, I just hate having to come up with a quote or something to put on a picture. And so
Yeah.
I get
Sometimes
ideas
it's
all the
work,
time.
so I get it.
Yeah. I use Chat GPT all the time for that. But anyway, I'll just run through these other ones just really quick. So customer service is down quite a bit, almost 20%. Translation services are down almost 20%.
That makes sense.
Accounting services are up like 15%. Sales services are up 15%. Back end development is up about like 5 to 7%, and then market research is also up, which that's interesting. I would have thought market research probably would have been down because I feel like I use that for research as well quite a bit.
Listen, not to spoil any upcoming podcasts, but after speaking with someone who their entire profession is market research, I can absolutely see why it's up because the stuff that they know is ridiculous. And I've never once had AI even come close to giving me the advice they were giving me. So I don't
Yeah,
think.
That's
well,
okay.
advice is different, but I like maybe this isn't market research, but I would think that this is market research. I'm a
Mm,
massive nerd, and I read like company quarterly earnings results all the time, and they're
I love it.
so.
I love it.
Do you?
Every day after work.
So, but okay, so you probably know this. Like, they're so boring sometimes, and they're just like they're so redundant. They all say basically the same thing, and they take like 20 pages to say something that could really be said in one page. So I will very often, especially a lot lately, I'll take like the entire transcript of the CEO earnings call. You can find the transcript and you can put it into Chat GPT and just say like, give me a brief description or give me like a brief overview of this, and it'll just spit out like a really quick overview of what they talked about, and it's so great for that.
That
Anyway,
is one thing I
I've
use
done that.
ChatGPT a lot
yeah,
for is summarization, or like
yes,
condensing
yeah,
information. Yeah.
Not
yeah,
to
it
go on
is great for that.
not to go on like a spiel about this again because I talk about it a lot, but with my ADHD, whenever I do see something that I need to know, I will oftentimes take big chunks of information and say, "Listen, you've got to give me bullet points
Yeah,
because this isn't gonna happen." So yeah, I might not be doing it with your guys' favorite pastime, but I do it.
God, those
yeah.
reports, the way to my
Yeah.
heart.
But all right, I think it is time to move on to what's becoming one of my favorite segments. Actually, the Q&A for it's supposed to be for all of us, but I think this week I really want to focus on our guest because you are the first guest we've had that really specializes in something that I don't think me and Hal are super great at. I think Hal's better at it than I am, for sure. But that is prop and character
That's not
design.
saying much.
I
Um,
disagree. I think your work is great.
oh, his visual stuff is amazing. He's just,
Yes.
he's either modest or just like
Humble.
has that self doubt that everyone has. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But
Oh, yeah.
it's great. I have some questions here. We can definitely move them around a little bit. And spoiler alert, AI developed these questions and I handpicked them. Full disclosure on that. But before we ask any of those questions, I want to ask one immediately. Why character and prop design?
I just have always gravitated towards characters. I really love drawing people. Traditionally, I like to draw portraiture, but when it comes to character design, I love all the accessories. I love really like inputting personality into the design. So it ticks all the good boxes in my brain. I don't know.
This is more of a homebrewed question I just thought of based on what you said. I'm someone that whenever I make levels and stuff, it's all functionality or story. That's what leads my decision making. And I know not everyone's like that. Like Hal, for example, he doesn't operate like that. I'm not saying he can't, by the way. This is not like me. This is not my attack on Hal. I just know that we operate different. Whenever you are developing a character, how much do you need their backstory or functionality, or can you just like, I've seen in some of my college classes and stuff, people will just silhouette a ton of different silhouettes and then just like pick the ones they like and go from there. Where are you at on that?
Well, I know with my own process, a lot of the character personality comes from the design itself. And so I kind of go from there. But I do tons of sketches first. I do at least 6, 7 versions of like outfits and characters so I can like, or poses and things like that. Color swatches just to get the rough idea. And then I build them from there. But if I'm working with somebody else and they have like their own idea of the character, it's already planned out and written, it does make that a little bit easier. But personally, I like the personality to kind of be born from the design process.
Do you do
Okay.
any like 3D sculpting or just 2D?
Mostly 2D, but I did learn a little bit when I was in school.
Hmm.
I'm not the most proficient at it though.
Yeah, your art, I have to say, I think you shared it in the Discord a while back, and I was just amazed. I looked
Thank you.
through every single one of your
Thank you.
artwork, and I was like, dang, she is so good. I'm so jealous of people that can draw. I always wanted to draw or paint, and I just never was very good at it. And like I know people say that you can learn, and I do really want to learn. I tell myself all the time that like I just want to really focus on learning how to draw at some point.
Yes.
But I love art. I love going to museums and seeing paintings and drawings, and I really really loved your stuff.
Thank you. Well, PewDiePie. He
Yes,
was recently trying to teach himself how to
I
draw.
saw this. Yeah,
His progress is
yeah,
insane. From having never drawn before, he just committed to it every single day.
yeah,
And like he said it himself, like it just clicks for you. And I've had several moments like in my art journey where things have just clicked. And I'm like, oh my God, I get it. You know what I mean? It just kind of hits you.
yeah.
And those moments are so rewarding. You just kind of keep pushing towards that.
Did
Um,
And
you
it never ends. So.
did you like how long have you drawn? Have you done it ever since you were a kid?
Yeah, pretty much my whole life.
Yeah,
if
I
you were
didn't
yeah.
really get
to,
serious into it until college, though. Like I was kind
Okay.
of drew school and things like that, but then I really
Mhm.
started trying to dedicate like time into getting my style and things like that.
Yeah.
if you were to give advice to someone that's learning this craft, what would it be?
Draw what you love. Don't try and force yourself to like there's all these tutorials online. It's like do figure studies, do still lifes, and those are fantastic. But the biggest thing to get good at something, the biggest lesson I've learned is just do it what's fun. do what you love to do, even if that's drawing anime characters or drawing eyes, exclusively eyes. I did that all the time in high school. It like just gets you in the habit of doing it. You're never going to learn if you're doing things that are a chore. So
I think this wraps back perfectly to the quote earlier that had me just so happy, which was, don't worry about the result. Do it because you're doing it. Like, just you're making art,
exactly.
make art. Like,
Yeah,
stop
make
worrying about
abstract
things you don't have.
if you don't like to draw people, or just do whatever fuels you.
Yep, absolutely.
I used to like to draw golf courses when I was a kid.
That
Really
is so
interesting.
Yeah.
specific, and I love that.
Yeah. My dad used to work at a golf course, and so I got really into golf when I was younger. And
Level
so
design.
I would that's true. I've never actually even thought about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would literally like draw out like my dream golf course. And I'd have like I'd really put a lot of thought process into it too. Like I'd have 4 par 3s and 4 par 5s, and the rest would be par 4s, and I would decide like which one would be par 4 and 5 and all of that, and like which one would have a hook and all that stuff.
You know what's
It's so
crazy? I definitely didn't draw golf courses, but all through middle school, I had like, and I don't have any of them anymore, which makes me sad because I didn't know I would want them. I drew comics of games that I was playing at the time, and I
Oh
had
wow, that's cool.
so many, and they would include my friends, and then I would show my friends and be like, "Here's your part where you're in the game," and I used to do that all the time. It was mostly RuneScape stuff, though, to be honest.
Yeah.
just pages and pages of RuneScape.
It was, man.
Do you guys ever get those adult coloring books?
I
Have you guys
see.
ever seen those?
I've never gotten one, but I have seen
Yeah.
them.
I
I've
know
always wanted to get one of those.
Nat loves doing those. She loves doing those. Have you ever seen the it's like color by bead or something like that, and you get
Yes,
like
the little
all
gems that you like stick on.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
She has a ton of those. Like this whole area that you can't see right here is filled with stuff like that. Here's the interesting part about it. And she thought I was crazy when I said this, and then I tried it and I showed her, and it's true. I don't know why. That stuff makes me so anxious. Everyone relaxes when they do them.
Your hands
I
are
am
shaking.
so I am. I'm like, because it's a commitment. I'm like, I have to finish this, or like, I don't know. It just feels like it's something that either I'm gonna waste a ton of time on, or I'm not gonna finish it. And I feel like I don't know. I can't do it.
It is so interesting. I wonder if that's like an allegory for something.
It is. I
Yeah.
am
My
a
life.
There was an image on Facebook recently, which I have the displeasure of using again. I need to get back off of it, but that said something along the lines of, "I want to work, but I need to take a break, so I'm gonna do neither and beat myself up about it." That's literally me to a T.
Yep.
Which is one of the reasons every time I see someone's like, "Oh, I'm back from a break," I'm always like, "No, celebrate that. The fact you
Yeah.
can take breaks, you need to celebrate that."
They're
I have
kind of-
another
yeah.
I have another question for you, Haley. What's your favorite medium to work with? Or do you have a favorite?
Digital for sure. I
Okay.
learned traditional, and
Mhm.
I filled out sketchbooks while I was learning, but I just love the convenience of
Yeah.
digital. And I feel like I can do personally so much more than I could traditionally.
Yeah. So you use a tablet, I'm assuming.
Yeah, my main app is Procreate.
Okay. Yeah. What kind of tablet do you have?
I have an iPad. I am
Oh,
an
okay,
iPad
nice.
baby.
Yeah.
But
So you use the pencil then, right?
yeah, I
I
love.
hate how much I love it
I know it's like you really do hate to
because
love it.
it's
It's
so
just so good.
expensive.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's so
and so easy
expensive.
to lose. Like
Yeah,
I've gone through 3 already.
yeah, but they are so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always recommend that to people starting digital art because it's such
Mhm.
a good, I think, barrier for entry. Um, trying to invest in like really expensive tablets like that are a little bit more difficult to use. iPads are just so intuitive.
Yeah.
You know what? Something you do that I don't know if you've ever looked into doing this, Haley, but it it's just so connected with what you do, and right now you can make a lot of money doing it. Actually, Nat has looked into it because she makes her own VTuber models and using 2D
Oh,
Studio
yeah.
or ZD 2D something. I forget what it's called. Have you ever actually like looked into doing that?
I have not actually. I do a lot of like D&D character commissions.
Okay.
But I feel like that would be so much fun is designing like a VTuber model and getting all the like joints and that
Yeah,
would just
so
be so much fun.
it's all just separate layers. Like every
Yeah.
part that has to move individual is on a separate layer. And
Mhm.
the program already has the face and the different expressions the face can make programmed. So then what you do is you take those pieces and keyframe them into
Yeah.
different spots depending on where the different things on the face are. So like if the eye goes left, you've got a keyframe for that. If the eye goes right, you've got a keyframe for that. And
I've
then
seen
that's how
some
those
people like
models.
post. I've seen like videos of people showing their models and then they turn on all the keyframes and it's like a billion dots of like where they have like the joints and it's so technical. But it's incredibly impressive whenever people can pull it off and it looks really really good like on camera.
Yeah. I just had to ask because I'm so connected to a VTuber and I've seen it and it's kind of similar to the work you did. So I was like, I wonder if that's something that she's considered before.
That would be fun.
Yeah. But I think unless you guys have some closing thoughts, it's about time to wrap up. What do you guys think?
Yeah, absolutely. Do you, Haley, do you have anything you want to plug or tell
Yes.
anyone
Thank you.
about Instagram or just wherever they can find you?
Yeah, I am on Twitter as Hagraven Girlfriend. It's Hagraven GF, and then on Instagram I'm Haley Kirton underscore art. So you can find me there. I post a lot of my traditional stuff there, but I'm trying to get into posting more content about my game. So you'll see it all very soon.
Awesome. When can we play this game?
Hopefully this year, but
Okay.
Ooh.
we don't know. We don't know
Yeah.
yet.
By the way, Hal, like legitimately, thank you for asking her because I would have ended this podcast and immediately been like, why didn't I do that? But Hal, where can people find you?
Well, indieallies.com, that leads to our Discord, where I am pretty frequently active there. How about studios.com? That's just my game studio. And then I'm just Hal451 on most things. I also stream on Twitch Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. I am infinitely playing through Baldur's Gate 3, and probably will just continue to be playing through Baldur's Gate 3 for the foreseeable future.
I want to romance those pixels so bad. I want that game.
Yep. It's so freaking good.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I'm skeptical when I was getting into it because I was expecting it to be good, and I held off from buying it like right away.
Always a
But
good move.
but I got into it and I was like, oh my goodness, this game
Yeah.
is just going to just
Ruin my life.
yeah, I'm just
Just
never gonna
never get
play
my
anything
friend.
else, and I think I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it's so good. So yeah, I'm playing through that on Twitch and having a lot of fun.
Awesome. And of course, if you're hearing this, you probably already know where to find me, but just in case, I'm DarkslayerTV pretty much everywhere. I've been using this handle since like literally 2008, so who knows what you can find if you dig deep enough. Maybe I shouldn't tell people that, but um yep, DarkslayerTV, that's where the stream is, that's where the YouTube is. But yeah, thank you so much, Haley, for coming on to the podcast. Really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you, Hal, as always, for also taking time and doing this with me.
My
Thank you, Hal.
pleasure.
And thank you to everyone that's listening and anyone that is still on the stream. But This is indeed the end of today's podcast, and we will see you next week. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.